Hello everyone, it's Heatwave Aeryn again, and Heatwave Aeryn is not great at creating things because Heatwave Aeryn gets very tired very quickly. And unfortunately this heatwave is going to last us another week and a half. So I was trying to decide what I should do creatively and if I can do anything, and the thing that's really been weighing on me is that there are certain things in my stamp section, my stamp collection, inventory, whatever you want to call it, that have been making it hard for me to use my stamps, and I don't like that. I have kind of done multiple things with my stamp sets. I used to store them by set, I used to store them by company, and now I've broken them all up by theme, which has really been helping. But one of the things that I noticed was when I was looking for pieces, I usually put together scenes. And as I was looking for pieces of a scene and I said I needed this kind of item or this kind of item, I wasn't able to just go to that section. And I kind of want that. And I did start making sure to organize like my animals by company and my like sections like food. All the food goes into one space. But the things that I noticed were kind of messed up were elements, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. Like I have this binder here that's called Fall and Halloween, and I went back and forth as like, is fall enough of a thing versus Halloween, which yes I do love, and I do have specific Halloween images and I have a hard time not collecting them. But is fall enough of one? Because, you know, you can use leaves all the time. They don't have to be a pile of brown leaves. They can be a pile of green leaves. It could be maybe you were trimming trees. Or it could be spring leaves, like they were just, you know, they're coming onto the trees. They're growing, right? So there are a lot of things that you can, there's a lot of overlap. So I really had to think critically as to where I would look for certain things. And I started to realize that pumpkins can be used all the time, but when I say pumpkins, mostly your brain is gonna go to Halloween or food if you happen to really like pumpkin food. So things like that, I had to really ask myself, and sometimes my friends, where would I go if we needed a certain image for a scene? And that's when I realized that scene building and nature needed to be separated, because I had them all together. But then if I'm looking for tiny houses, I'm looking for tiny houses. I'm not looking for a tree stump, right? So you kind of see what I'm getting at here. If I'm looking for witches, I'm looking for witches. So these are very clearly Halloween images. That's pretty simple, no problems there. And this is where I started to run into a problem, because I started to say, okay, regardless of the fact that you can use leaves all of the time, if I'm thinking about leaves, I'm going to be thinking about fall. So I can take this out whenever. There's no like, you know, there's no rules that says I can't take this out whenever, but most likely I'm going to be reaching for it during the fall. And the same thing with the pumpkins. So those can be combined together. But is this inherently a fall animal image? I don't think the answer is yes. And this cat certainly isn't. You can tell I kind of got lazy at this point, I think. So inherently pumpkins are going to go here, cauldrons are going to go here, stuff like that. But is this animal a fall only image? I don't think so. And that's where I'm going to have to start organizing. And as you can see, as we get further in, we've got different kinds of images everywhere. This animal is just an animal. There's nothing specific about him. So he kind of doesn't need to be here. He can be in with all of the other animals. And the other issue that I was thinking about controlling is pieces like this, where this is a cauldron filler. Essentially, there's a cauldron, there's a bunch of things that can go in it, but it's kind of hard to see among all of the animals. And I don't want things to be hard to see, because then I don't use them. I'm very much, I do enjoy paging through these binders. I find it really fun. I know when I've done this on live streams, everybody likes just looking at the book. But if things are hard to see in the book, then I start to have a problem. And this is messed up. So that hasn't helped. And then there's parts in the back here. Okay, I did actually go through and add the paper, so that's good. Because without the paper, I was having a hard time seeing things too, especially the camera was having a hard time seeing things, and you'll see that when I show you the winter, holiday binder. I am having a hard time with words. It is hot, okay? Like I said, I have the air conditioner on, but it is way hotter than normal because we're in like energy saving mode, so it is just, I am so sweaty. Anyway, again, there are elements in here that, you know, if I was looking for a pumpkin, would I just stop at this first page and not look on page like 7 for yet another pumpkin? What if this is the perfect pumpkin that I was looking for or needed and I couldn't find because it's all in here? What if I was looking for a castle literally any other time and I didn't find it because it's in here? Wouldn't it be better if I had all of the big elements, scene building elements like houses and stuff, together in one place that's different? Not necessarily like, oh, these are trick-or-treaters, they should be with all the other trick-or-treaters. I think that would be getting a little bit, I want to say pedantic, but I don't think that's the right word. It's a little too precise, essentially. Theme-wise, I don't think that that is necessary. But, you know, at some point I do kind of, like, this is an animal on a pumpkin. You know, do I keep that in with the animals or the animals on the pumpkin? That's where I got really confused. It's like, is it inherently an autumn picture because he's holding a pumpkin? It depends on where you're going to think of it. That's the answer. That's the thing. Whatever your answer you're telling me, you know, in the comments or whatever my head is telling me, that's what I'm going to have to go with. Because if I say, oh, I need an animal, am I going to pick the animal on the pumpkin any other time? You know, it's the same thing with the kids on the leaves. Could they be used any other time? Yes. But am I going to think of them most during the fall? Yes. That's why they're in here. But, you know, we get into these are elements that go in this jar, in with all of these animals and these little tiny planner people and planner animals and stuff. I want to see just the houses on one of these sheets. I want to see just the houses and just the, you know, the pumpkin house and all of that. I want just a sheet of houses that I could possibly use for whatever idea I have in my head. Not, oh, I saw this, but do I have another thing? I don't know. There's 5 more pages here. I don't know if I have more. And I'm always getting more. So that's the other thing I had to realize, is sometimes I do have to purge and get rid of things that I don't like. These guys have been on the fence for quite a while, but I just can't do it. I don't like the fact that his hat is solid. I'm a colorist, coloring person, and I like to color, so having a solid hat like that bothers me. But he's just so cute. He's just, you know, they've been on the chopping block before, and it's just, no, I don't want to do it. And again, do you want to put pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns in the same place? I'm going to go with yes, but your answer could be different, you know. I don't think that I'm going to separate it down to, like, these are only the witches, and these are only the zombies, or these are only the bats, because I think that's getting a little bit too far down there. I mean, even the bats could go somewhere else, but when I'm looking for bats, again, I'm looking for Halloween images, and that's where they usually come from, so it just gets in your brain. Despite the fact that they could be versatile another time, you can still go to this. But again, am I going to be looking for the train in and among all this? Probably not. But if I had it in a section where it's scene builders within the Halloween binder, then I'm going to think about it. I hope I'm making sense. I feel like I'm making sense because it makes sense to me. But just looking through here, you can see the disorganization, because essentially what I do is I put things by theme. So anything that I called Halloween or that the company called Halloween, it goes in the Halloween binder. And I was separating out things that were pumpkins, and then pumpkins are in here too, and that got crazy, so I had to rescue the pumpkins from other places. And yeah, I don't use them any other time of year unless I'm doing autumn and Halloween stuff. So they really do need to be in here, but they don't need to be scattered in and among here. If I had just a page of pumpkins that I could see the shapes and sizes, I know that they would get mixed up more. And that's what brings me joy about the stamps, honestly, is creating my own scenes, but creating my own scenes out of the whole collection. You know, Tim Holtz always talks about how when he comes up with a new thing, he still likes to think about how it can be used with the old things. That's in context of his own distressed products and everything. But it's kind of how I approach my collection as well. If I can bring in a new set, because I am going to bring in a new set, it's just a foregone conclusion, don't bother questioning it. When I bring in that new set, how is it going to work with what I have? Because if it's not going to work with what I have, I don't need it. And I mean, you can say that there's a lot of redundancies here, like how many tiny witches do you need? The answer is all of them, or at least the ones that I really like, that's the answer. Because these also just make me happy to look at. I like paging through these things and seeing the organization and seeing the images and stuff like that, just like I like looking at my coloring books that I know I will never get a chance to color every page, nor do I want to on some of them. I like looking at them, but I need them organized so that I can find the things. And if you're wondering like how I do this kind of thing, what happens is we get a new set. We get mini new sets, sometimes shiny, sorry. Sometimes mini new sets. This is one order, and then I got a free stamp because it's literally that much. So the new order comes in, and then it has to be broken down. So these bats and the spider would come and go in here. The bats, the spider, all of these guys would go in here. This little bucket, though, I'm going to start to say is going to have to go in some sort of element or candy section or these kind of things. It needs to go on a page by itself. And I think that that's got to be the way going forward so that I can actually see the things, especially when you're talking things that are so tiny, like a little tiny thing of cider. This is probably going to go in with my nature just because, I mean, apples are harvested in the autumn technically, but am I going to think of them only in the autumn? No. I'm going to just go, hey, look, an apple tree. So this can go with nature, this is going to go with food or nature, and then these are going to go with food, that kind of thing. So they come in, and first I prepare them. So these are stamps from Hello Bluebird. They don't have their packaging anymore. I take, where's the one with the pumpkin on it? Ah, there, found it. Was another order. Stamp collecting is expensive, whether you're doing the regular kind or the coloring. No. Clear stamping, I guess. Rubber stamping, hobby, whatever we call it. I don't even know. It's not philatling. That's all I know. So what I do is I take off the package and then I take archival ink and I will stamp over the entire thing. You just take the package. I'm gonna do this one first. Just take the package, recycle. Goes in the recycling, same as everything else, and then take this and you rub it over the whole thing. Now, I do this to prep the stamps. Learned that from Tim Holtz. You know, can't always cite my sources, but that one's easy because it's his product. And this will help to give the water-based ink that I actually use for my Copics some tooth and something to grab onto. So you just let that dry. It's not going to take very long. I'm just going to set it aside so I don't touch it. It's not going to take very long, and then it's like this. And now when I stamp it, you can see it's got the ink rubbed over it. Now when I stamp it, or when I go to use it, it's already inked. And you can see it better too when it's in the file, which is also nice. It's just a happy, not coincidence, it's just a bonus that you can see it better in the file. But if you don't like your stamps dirty, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I would still prepare them every time I go to stamp, just because you're going to get a cleaner image from your clear stamps. I know a lot of people are anti-clear stamps because they're like, oh, it's always a muddy image. Well, it wouldn't be if you prepared your stamps. So your mileage may vary, but this is what I do. You can do what you do. You do you. I don't like clean stamps because I feel like, oh, look, I didn't even use it. This isn't using it, so don't get me wrong. This isn't technically using it. This is just filing it. But I think most of us with any amount of supplies know that organization is also a separate hobby, so that's fine. Where's your label? You don't have a label? It doesn't have a label. It must have fallen off. This is the winter holiday collection. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I like a lot of winter images for some reason. I spent 15 years living in the mountains, so we had snow. I didn't grow up with snow. I'm nearly 40, so 15 of those years is not that much, but I really liked snow. I liked getting in the season of snow. But as you can see, this is a mess. And it's a hard to see mess because I didn't put the white paper behind it. And we've got trees in here. And the thing that's been bugging me about the winter holiday section, I'm going to turn it so at least we can see what's in there. The thing that's been bugging me about the winter holiday section is this is a holiday tree. That is just a tree, right? Because that's got a star on it, and then this is just a holiday tree. Or this is just a tree. It can be used any time of the year. And when I was trying to create nature pictures, and I'm like, you know what? I need a pointy tree. I had to go to the Christmas section and sort through all of the things just to find the trees that I needed. And that's not great. And so I want to stop that. I want to figure out a way to curb that problem. Because yeah, this is a Yule tree, this is a Christmas tree, whatever you want to call it, that's what it's for, is the winter holidays. But that's just a regular tree, and I can use that anytime. And there's so many examples of just the regular trees, or this is a regular sea rock, this is a regular, no, that's not, that's a present. This is a regular piece of seaweed and stuff. Does it need to be there? No. It could go with the other things. There's a lot of presents here that could technically be used for birthday. If I ever made birthday cards, I don't, but maybe it's something that you need to think about. I don't make cards, I make scenes, so there's a difference. But yeah, this is also hard to see. You're getting a lot of glare from the lights because welcome to the studio, but also it's hard for me to see. But this was me sort of trying to organize all of the elements. I went through with what I had at the time and was like, oh, look at all the tiny snowflakes. Wouldn't it be nice if I could see all of the snowflakes that I have? So this is a lot of snowflakes in here. But then, you know, as you try and fill up space, there's a lot of regular trees that could be in with nature and be used more often if I could find them. This is just a mountain scene with snow on it. It's hard for you to see because I didn't prep this one. Another reason why you should prep your stamps. Just it's easier for them to see when you're using this kind of system. If you're keeping them like this, more power to you. I don't care. Like I said, this is an option. This is not me saying this is the best way to do it. But if you're doing this system, this is what I'm suggesting. These are the things I'm finding from having this system for, gosh, I want to say about 5 years. But I don't understand the passage of time. I have ADHD, so I have no idea. But am I going to get as crazy as I want to make sure all my Yeti are together? I want to make sure all my snowmen are together. The snowmen all together would be adorable. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of enticed by that. But am I going to buy new snowmen every year? Apparently. This stamp just came out this week. Apparently I'm going to buy a snowman every year because I like snowmen. I can't resist. The other thing is you got to consider, is a mouse with a hat inherently winter, and is it the only time you will think to use a mouse with a hat? Or, when you go to look for mice, will you choose this for any other time? Because that determines where this mouse goes. You know, there's always a lot of questions of like, how do I theme this, or how do I theme that? Where are you going to think about it? Are you going to say, I need mice, and go to the mouse section, or go to the lawn fawn animal section, which is what I have? Or are you going to say, I need mice in winter? I need winter, and maybe it's mice, maybe it's something else. Because then that would say, put it in the winter section. Put it in the winter holiday section. If this is the only time you would ever possibly use this kind of mouse or that mouse. These guys are working with snow, so probably that's the only time you're using them. But these guys, what are they doing? You don't know. They just happen to be wearing hats and scarves. It's not inherently winter if you aren't going to think about it as winter. And that's another thing to consider when you're doing this thing by theme. But yeah, we've got a tree house here. Is that inherently winter? No. This does not need to be here. I could use this any other time, and I don't because it's in winter. I only look at it once a year. So that needs to change. Why is there a broom here? Because it came in a set that happened to have other winter things, but it's just a broom. I could be using it other times. I don't even know I have a broom because it's not in with my set build or my scene builders. Is that making sense? I think I'm making sense. I think I'm making sense, but you see the disorganization and the craziness, and this is what I'm going to try and stop. Again, it would be really cool to see all of just the snowmen together. But yeah, I mean, this sheep, for instance, is just knitting. Why is he here? Why is he only in winter? He's just knitting. That could literally be any other time. He needs to go with his other friends. Like, yes, if you're covered in Christmas lights or holiday lights or whatever we want to call them, then yeah, that makes sense. But again, is it the only time you use those lights? Do you like to use a whole bunch of lights all the other times? Do you want, like, perhaps a little sheep covered in lights for someone's birthday, or a little sheep covered in lights for Valentine's Day? You light up my life. It could work for so many things. Where will you think of it going? That's going to be the important part. So, as you can see, I have a problem with winter. Again, 15 years in the mountains, yes, but have I ever made this many projects? No. I don't know what my fascination is with snow, and my fascination with coloring snow and coloring cold, you know, little animals all bundled up. I don't know what it is, but I find it so freaking cute. These are like all from last year. I think these are the ones that are like all last year. So many. Gingerbread Men. I think I've made gingerbread twice in my whole life. We made houses once, and we made actual gingerbread men once in my whole life. But I've got a whole bunch of stamps for it because I like the idea of making scenes. I like how cute they are just looking at them. But also the little candies. You have to decide if are you only going to use them for your gingerbread men, or are you going to say, hey, I could throw candies in with a whole bunch of other stuff, or do you want to just put them aside so when you're creating something with food on it, you could say, oh, I also have a candy section in with the Halloween section, because Halloween and candy go together in most people's brains, so that helps. But are you going to think every single time to go into the winter binder for candy? Probably not. I'm not. Clearly, I'm not. I didn't use it ever. Now, see, these little houses have snow on them, so they belong in the winter section. But this tree doesn't have snow on it. It doesn't need to be there. And I do have to make a decision between the children and animals wearing scarves. If it's one of those, you know, Yule hats, Christmas hats, whatever they are, with the pom-pom on the end, yeah, I'm only going to use that in Christmas. If it's just a scarf, could that work any other time? Am I going to think of it any other time? That's a question I have to ask myself. And now I haven't done these two binders. I'm going to focus on these, and hopefully you'll get another video. This is me not having done anything video, but wanting to give you content because it's been like a month since you've gotten content. But I did do a little bit. Hang on. A better man would cut the video, but I actually don't know how. I don't know how, so you get the live recording of whatever just comes off the cuff. So this one is my fish and underwater section, and this I actually organized mostly. Again, we always add to things, so as you expand, things get a little messy when you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this right now. So this is the fish and underwater section, and I love fish. If you don't know that about me, I love fish. They're cool. I've never actually had fish because from what I hear, they take a lot of work. I have a dog. Feed it twice a day, take it outside twice a day, 3 times a day. It's fine. Very low maintenance. But fish, on the other hand, oof. So I don't have fish, but I like fish, and I like looking at fish, and I like coloring underwater scenes. You see me do a lot of underwater coloring in general in my coloring books. I like fish. So the section was rather large. I was just like, oh boy, it just keeps going. And what I wanted to do was all of the scene builders together. So these happen to be big old corners, couldn't resist. This was not a great idea because I don't make cards. So what am I framing? But they're so cute. And the thing is, you can also just cut these little guys off if you want to nest them in something else. Or, I mean, this one's a really good one. This one's a little harder, like maybe it's a cave, but you need the little corner things. So these are the big scene builders. We've got boats, because those are also scene builders, but also elements. These are all the kinds of elements to build a scene. We've got coral, we've got castles, we've got big old dock pieces. All of these things are things that you can look at, say, what kind of project am I working on? What kind of things could be in this scene? and then go from there. And then you can put in the animals and the elements. But this is all things that will build your background, your foreground, all of that in one section. So whatever kind of thing you're building, and things to build scenes in, like the bowls, and then all of the shells, all of the little pieces of coral, all of the rocks. Do you need a surfboard? Here's one here. Here's one there. What kind of surfboard do you want? You know? This is the where you start section. And then once you've got all the elements that you said, oh, well, this would be cool if I use that with this, and then maybe have a little pail there because it went to the bottom of the ocean. Who knows? I'm just coming up with stuff. And then maybe I have a big old clam there. You know, that big clam in Animal Crossing. I finally caught it. Let's put it in a picture, you know? And then you say, what animals am I going to put in my scene? Where am I going to go for that? Some of these little guys need to come out of here. I didn't notice them. But see, they're going to get overlooked there because they did. They did get overlooked there. These little guys are going to have to go somewhere else. But you've got, do I want a tiny, tiny little sea turtle? Well, what if I want a sea turtle, but no, I want a bigger plushy one? Or I want a big old octopus. No, wait, I need a smaller octopus. And then you can look through all of the animals. So that's what was important to me, was to make sure that all of the animals and all of the elements and stuff ended up in one section, separate from, see, this is how it used to be. And I'm reusing some paper because recycling. But that way I can see all of the different fish. All of the different tiny fish, all of the big fish. You know, you could get really specific about it. These are scuba diving animals, but do you want all of just the fish? It kind of depends on how big your personal collection is. I have a very large collection. I've been collecting stamps since 2010, when they actually just did a thing on Simon Says Stamp today. 2010 is when Lawn Fawn started, and I don't know if you know this. Some people do, some people don't. Some don't care. 2010 is when the Lawn Fawn set Critters in the Arctic came out, and that is the first set that I saw. And I said, I need that stamp set because I want to color it. And I did not know how to color. I didn't know anything about coloring, but I needed that set. And I needed to learn how to do Copics to color it, because that was the thing at the time. Or just barely becoming the thing at the time. I think he was in it. Because this is, no, he's not. That's not a Lawn Fawn one. This is a Lawn Fawn one, but he's not a critter in the Arctic. I think it was this guy. I think it was this guy and this guy. Was part of the Arctic set. And then you had like a deer and a walrus. There were two critters in the ocean and critters in the Arctic. I forget who all was in there, but it was these guys, and that guy was definitely in those first those early sets that got me into Lawn Fawn and got me into coloring and Copics in the first place. So 2010. It is now 2022, almost 2023. So that's how long I've been collecting stamps. It's been a while. I've had to replace some of my Copics. I've had to reorganize my stamps many times, but this is kind of what's working the best for me in the way that I use my stamps. And the way that I use my stamps has evolved over time. I did start making cards because I didn't know what to do with the images. And I was like, well, everybody else makes cards with them. I guess that's what you have to do. Well, you don't. And turns out I didn't like it. I ended up making digital scenes with digital stamps because I just didn't like making cards. And making scenes with digital images is really easy. Making scenes with physical images is a little harder because you either have to mask things or layer things. But it is definitely possible, and that's kind of where I moved on with my creative artness, because I make it mimic coloring books, right? You buy a scene, and here you just buy the elements of the scene. You got to put it together yourself, but there's more creativity there because nobody's going to put these elements together the way that you are. And also, when you're working from so many different sets like this, you're going to put it together completely different than somebody else that's just working from one set, like this. So, yes, there are multitudinous ways of taking this set and making something. But if you take this set and this binder of winter-themed stuff, well, that's a whole other kettle of fish, isn't it? You've got so many more options for creativity. If you needed different snowflakes, even the basest thing, just different snowflakes, there's a ton here. If you wanted to put a tree, there's no tree here, but I have plenty of trees. But yeah, the trees are going to have to go in nature because, you know, there are other trees that are evergreens versus just the pine trees. I live in California. Lots of these things are evergreens. But yeah, so that is my plan. I will definitely come back and update you guys, but I don't want to make you wait because, again, I am summer Aeryn. It is heat wave Aeryn, and this is not going to get done fast. I wanted to show you a small section, but I have these 2 binders, the holiday binders, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Question mark? At least 12 to go through, look at, and say scene builders, actual elements, stuff like that, and make things really efficient. Also make sure that everything is stamped and prepped so I can use it right away. And make sure everything has a proper page protector and a piece of paper. Either this plastic sheet comes with a carrier sheet, and I either use the carrier sheet or a white piece of cardstock. It doesn't really matter which, as long as it's just something that you can see versus just the shininess, because then you end up with stuff like this where it's like, yeah, those are dogs because this is the dog section, but what on earth is he doing? I have no idea, and the camera knows even less because you're mostly just getting glare. So yeah, I definitely have to go through these kind of things. Even with the cat and dog section, there's things like food bowls, which can be used in a lot of other ways. You know, cups of milk, which could just go in with the cup of milk. Butterflies, which it needs to be in nature. Like, why are you here? You know, because it was in the set, yes, but it should have been broken up. Because, yeah, you take a set like this and you say, well, these fish need to go in the fish section. This bird and this bird needs to go in a different section. And this cattails needs to go in the nature section. None of these things need to be together. Now, Hello Bluebird and Lawn Fawn each have their own section, so those animals will go in with their own company, unless they're cat and dog, in which case everybody ends up here. I don't know why I separated cats and dogs. I just did, and now I just can't have it any other way. That's just how it started. Cats and dogs have their own section. I think when I'm looking for a cat scene or I want to do a cat scene, I just want to do a cat scene. And then if it's another animal, I'm just like, okay, it could be a bird, it could be it could be a mouse, any of those, but like, is the cat in the stocking is only going to be used for winter stuff. So these guys will just go in winter. So even that, like, break your own rules wherever you think you will think of something. This has taken 25 minutes for me to talk. I don't know why it took that long. It was only 5 in my head, but here we are. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I will come back and update you with things. We'll page through things, stuff like that. But it's not going to be soon. You're going to get this video first because, gosh. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I didn't think I'd be talking this long. I'm sorry. I actually think that says 32 minutes. Oof. Okay. Shut up, Aeryn. I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked it, a thumbs down if you didn't, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.